Hello and welcome to Knit.Purl.Repeat. My name is Jess and I'm coming to you from Tampa, Florida. This channel is mainly about knitting, but also my other fiber craft adventures. Thanks for joining me today for episode 4. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me here on my new YouTube channel. If you're brand new to me, thank you for stopping by and checking this channel out. If you want to go back and look at past episodes, you fortunately only have 3 others. And if you like what you see, then I hope you come back. Of course, you can hit the subscribe button and the bell to be alerted when I post new episodes. Anything I talk about today in terms of patterns, pattern designers, other makers, will be linked in the description box. Also there is where you can find me, and that is on Instagram and Ravelry as Jess S Makes. If you're a returning viewer, thanks so much for coming back. I really appreciate the likes, the subscribes, especially all the comments there. I'll try not to say It's really nice to see some new faces and people that have come from other areas. I was surprised and very shy and embarrassed a bit, being an introvert, when I was watching the Truly Myrtle live feed here on YouTube. She also does it on Facebook, and who I mean is Libby Johnson. You may know her as Truly Myrtle. She is a knitwear designer located in New Zealand. And during the live chat with Libby this week, she had just asked about, oh, who is this name? Because I forgot I had been using this new YouTube channel handle. And so she looked me up and said, oh, everybody go check her out. So I was kind of embarrassed, but not in a bad. Thank you, Libby. That's why I'm here, right? So people look at what I'm doing. I don't know. That's not why I'm here. I'm not here so that people look at me. I'm here so that I can talk about the stuff I love. The looking at me part's what I'm really shy about, which has also kept me from starting this channel a long time ago. Anyway, we're going to move beyond that hang up. Anyway, thank you, Libby, for sending some people my way or making them aware. Others, I know I've seen you in Wardrobe Toolbox, which is I suppose you call it a subscription to classes that Libby has created as part of her knitwear design. You can sign up for different seasons where we learn through master classes and new patterns how to improve our knitting, especially fit of knitwear garments, I think is the general idea. I'm new. I've only been there since this new season 10, which started in October. But it's been a wonderful experience. I've only just now, really since the end of October, been getting into more of the chat in the lounge and working with the knit along with the first pattern that is produced there. So I will be showing you that at some point in the future when it's available for everyone. Okay, I am outside right now, as you can see from the image behind me. And I feel like I'm overly lit. I do have a light on because the lighting out here keeps changing, We are getting just the fringes of Hurricane Rafael, which is moving west across the Gulf of Mexico. So it's still a bit humid today, but we have sunshine compared to the gloom of yesterday. So I'm out here because I have a kid home sick today. Of course, the day I wanted to record. I'm sorry he's ill or not feeling well. But so we're outside, so there is going to be ambient noise. I've turned off our pool pump, but there's other stuff that goes on, so hopefully that's not a distraction for you. Maybe I have to look into getting another microphone in the future. But thank you so much for spending some time here with me today. So let's get started. So for finished objects, I don't have any recently finished objects. I'm still working on them, but as I've done in the past, I'm going to talk about some finished objects that I've done in the past. I do have one finished object, but it's not knitting or crochet related. It's the spinning project that was in the intro video section. So I'll come to that in a moment. But for the knitting content, I wanted to talk about, let's talk about this one. This is my very first shawl that I knit. So I taught myself to knit somewhere around 2003, from what I can remember. And not long after that, taught myself to crochet. And for a long time, I mainly crocheted shawls. I crocheted shawls, bags, things for my toddlers, hats, mittens, scarves, cardigans, so things that I've gifted over time. And a few years ago, so this was in 2021 when I made this shawl, for some reason, it came to my attention when I was looking at shawls that I hadn't actually ever knit a shawl. I had only ever crocheted shawls. I couldn't believe that that was true. I actually checked Ravelry and checked my photographs, and yes, I had never knit a shawl. So I thought, well, let's knit a shawl. So I did this one. Let me take it off to show you. Plus it's getting just a little on the prickly side because it is hot out here, a bit warm, even though it is, what time is it? Let me look. It is 10 o'clock in the morning, but I'm sure it's already up to the 80s, which is about 30 degrees Celsius. Not quite, almost 30. So this is the Stormy, we call it the Stormy Sky Shawl by Cassini and Nadian. And you've probably seen this before. Let me back up. I knit this with one skein of yarn that I purchased from a local yarn store in Taos, New Mexico when we were on holiday in 2021. It is merino and cashmere. I'm not sure if there's anything else. I'll have information either on the screen or at least in the description box. So it's nice, actually. You can see the lighting coming through there, but let me show you the yarn colors a bit more. So the pattern consists of these alternating rows of garter stitch, some eyelets, and then later on so different widths of garter, and then also some of these larger drop stitch sections. And so it's knit into a asymmetrical triangle shape. And I had to stop a little bit early so I had enough yarn for the bind off, and then I wanted the tassels on the end. And so I got some mini ones, but this literally used up the very last bit of yarn that was in that ball of yarn. But I really love it. It's, I said camel, but it's baby camel and merino from, I don't remember, I didn't write down the maker of the yarn, but that will be linked in my Ravelry project page as well. So I really love this. So this is my very first knit shawl, and I love it, and I use it a lot. Another knit item, before I talk about some crochet, and I'm losing balls of yarn, are these fingerless mitts. I can get them on here for you. I don't know why I have to put them on. I could have just shown them to you, but let's do that. So these are the Rainbow Connection fingerless mitts. Let me find myself, by the Crazy Sock Lady. And so these are knit cuff up. I used leftover sock yarn, so fingering weight yarn, in 2 colors. It was a very nice pattern. I really liked the way that the thumb gusset is worked, which you save and pick up later, but I think it looks really good. And actually, even though the slip stitch texture on the back is interesting, I really love these little stripes. So I might have to make up another pair just in stripes using this pattern. I believe these were a size small. I think it was based on how much yarn I had left over. I did weigh these, and together they weigh 33 grams. So a great project for those leftover bits, a great gift knitting project if you're looking for some of those to make. You could always make them longer at the cuff and then fold it over if you want to have that availability to cover up your fingers when it's colder. I like to use them just as really wrist warmers, especially when I'm doing knitting or doing a lot of work on the computer. I think they just feel good. These are a little smaller on me. I would probably knit a medium for myself, but they're not too tight to wear. So I will link those in the description box. If you're looking for other ideas of fingerless mitts, I would check out Stephanie's latest episode at Edible Thoughts Makes here on YouTube. She recently put out an episode about the fingerless mitts that she has made recently and the patterns specifically that she has used and what she's done with those patterns. So whether they were full mitten patterns or whatnot, she has a nice little episode about that. So check that out if you're interested in more. I think this pattern will be one I will make again. The other one I tend to use is by Everything Shapes Us. The Everything November mitts, that's what they're called. That are a great pattern as well because you don't necessarily need to worry too much about fit, whereas these don't have a lot of stretch because they're slip stitch, although they do get that double stranded fabric here. The ribbed ones are, I can't remember if it's 3x1, 3x2, I can't remember what the ribbing pattern is, but right, that accommodates a lot of different hand widths, I think, as well. So I will link that pattern below as well if you're not familiar with the Everything November Knits pattern. One of the crochet objects I wanted to talk about is one of the few I actually still have at home. So a lot of them, and one of the items though that I have made is a long wrap. So it's this wrap here called the Stormy, no, it's not the Stormy Sky Shawl, that was the last one. This one is the Stormy Days wrap by Megan Meyer. This one is, I knitted in the Lion brand yarn used in the pattern, and it is 100% acrylic weight yarn. It's a worsted weight. I had this in my closet for a long time. I stopped wearing it because that shape and the length of it really wasn't wearable for me. It would never stay in place and I just wasn't using it. So it sat for ages in my closet. And I had at that time, this is about last year, I had been going through my closet and getting rid of things, right? Donating things I didn't wear, gifting them, sending things up to my family in Minnesota. My sister would often take items to the local elementary school for hats and mittens and things like that to have there at the school for kids that showed up to school without hats or mittens, and they would not be allowed to go outside at recess because they weren't properly clothed for the winters up there. So I used to send all that stuff up to her. So I was contemplating sending this wrap up. Sorry, Kristen, it didn't come to you, because I found another use for it. I was also looking to make a crocheted or knit cafe curtain. So, you know, the ones that only come up halfway up your window. So our kitchen window is quite wide, and at this time of year, the sun angle comes in such a way that you're blinded first thing in the morning, not only from the sun coming in the window, but then it also bounces off the granite countertops in our kitchen. And it dawned on me that maybe this wrap would work, right? It's rectangular. It's not too deep, I didn't think. I had to measure the window. And it already has holes in it because it's crochet. So I got a little spring-loaded curtain rod, threaded it through the tops, and what you should be seeing hopefully on screen now is a video just showing you it hanging in our kitchen window. And it fit perfectly, edge to edge with a little bit of drape. Yes, it has tassels on it, so a little extra something special in the window. And while it doesn't necessarily coordinate exactly with the colors in our kitchen, those colors are pretty neutral. It looks nice. It still lets the light shine through. I get to see it. It cuts down on that glare coming in the window. And because it's 100% acrylic, it's lightweight and I can wash it, because we know it's going to get dusty up there. And speaking of which, it's probably about time that I did give it a wash. So hopefully I'll remember to do that after recording this episode. Okay, I think that's it for today's finished objects. My other FOs are recently frogged objects, but they're things that are lessons learned, information gained from it. So I think of any experiment, whether it's scientific or art crafty, you never really have failures. Right? You still are going to learn something, even if it doesn't turn out as expected or what you maybe hoped for. You still get information from it, right? So that's what I'm going with. I'm trying to stick with this positive attitude about it. So it probably comes, it's no surprise, that I have frogged the Boneyard Sweethearts sweater. So I talked about this a couple times already. I know it's only episode 4, and I know I've talked about it at least twice. The final straw that told me, hey, just rip it out. Just get different yarn and start over, was that when I picked up the project from the last time I showed it to you, I noticed that there was a needle tip with the stitch stopper on it laying on the floor, not connected to the cable it was supposed to be connected to. So right there, stitches had already fallen off. I just pulled the other needle end out, and that was it. I actually say that it's been frogged, but I've only ripped out the bottom 2 colors. So it's still laying there waiting to have the yarn be rescued. So that was okay, because what I also got to do there was, when I pulled it out, is I tried it on. Now granted, it's not blocked, or it was only partially blocked up here, but the rest of the yoke wasn't blocked. I was at least able to try it on and see how things were going. And the fit was actually not too bad. It was pretty good, with the exception of that really overly heavy, thick weight. It kind of reminds me, not to this extent, I'm going to exaggerate here, but if you go to the dentist and if they still do the x-rays where you're in the chair and they put the lead vest on you, you know, we're almost kind of talking like a comfort weight blanket. Not quite that extent, but that's what it made me think of. Not what you want when you primarily live in a hot, humid climate for a lot of the year, and when you're in your 50s and still having hot flashes. So it's gone. I enjoyed it, so it's not a big deal, and I figured out the size was working. It was okay. The second one I hadn't talked about yet, and that is the Maven top by Maven Made. Looking at my notes because I can't rely on my brain to remember things right now. Maven Crafted. So this is a t-shirt that, short-sleeved sweater that came to my attention from Sophie of Cozy Meadow Knits. Hi, Sophie. And I really want to make this again, and it was not an intentional project to be frogged. I just had it as a whip laying on the side, and I was using, sorry for the crinkling, as I show you the yarn. I was using this yarn from Meals at the Ready. You can see still all a bit ramened in there, but this beautiful color, showing up a bit purplish on the screen, but it's a gray with green and blue and gray speckles. I know, grays and greens and blues again. It's how I am. I didn't intend to rip it out, although I had that niggling sensation in the back of my head that I worried that the armhole depth was maybe too short on it. And since I'd only just gone about 1 centimeter, maybe 1/4 inch below the split for sleeves, I still wasn't sure, should I have gone another round or not? Even though I measured it, the yoke depth was okay. I decided to rip this out because I'm going to make it again with different yarn. So I actually have 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn that I think will work great for this tee. And so I thought, oh, okay, I can use that yarn. I can rip this out because I wanted to use this yarn for another pattern that has really caught my attention recently. I'd seen it before by others making it, but Manon, I'm forgetting her last name, anyway, had recently made the Wilfrida sweater, and so that's what this is going to go for. That does mean that I had to purchase some yarn in order to use this yarn up for that sweater. You know, some knitter's math, but it works out. So I've ordered some silk mohair to hold with it to make the Wilfrida. At least it, you know, I'll be happy with it, right, in the end, even though it's another bluish green sweater. That's what we're going to go with. So that's actually a future plan, but anyway. I have a lot of tee patterns, a lot of ideas and aspirations to make tees and tanks. My main issue has been, well, short attention span, right? Sometimes you see the shiny new thing that you want right now, and I have to make it right now. My main hang up is I often have just one skein of yarn, of fingering weight yarn. I don't have two of the same color. And yes, I know you can mix and match sometimes in a pattern, but sometimes that doesn't work, right? It's going to mess up the pattern, the stitch pattern, or the texture, or something about it. Or in my case, I'm scrappy challenged. I get anxiety over trying to mix and match colors and things. That's another topic for another day. But so that's my recently frog object, my second one. But that means I had 2 needles or cables free, ready to go. Let's go to current works in progress and including a new cast on. That's what we'll do next. Something that I have shown you before is my Mabel's sweater, which is a pattern by Joji Locatelli. And I'm knitting it as part of her fall knit along, which ends this month. So I really want to get this done this month. Will it happen? Yeah, maybe not, but I would love to get it done. So I have shown this before, and I put some pictures on Instagram for it. Let's see, what's the beginning around? I think that's the front. So here it is far. So I think last time I had a photo, I had just split for the sleeves or come down here. So now I'm about almost 5 inches below the sleeve. There we go. There's some better lighting for you. And so what I'm going to do, because this is the second ball of 3, that's so the sort of medium shade of this hand-dyed yarn. They're all the same colorway, but because of the variation, the hand-dyed yarn, this one is sort of the middle tone, although, you know, I don't think it made a big transition from the light to the darker. I am going to start working in, when I get to about 5 inches, I'm going to start alternating with the 3rd skein of yarn so that I have the darkest color near the bottom, and then I'll have enough left for the sleeves. Now, what I forgot to take into account when I was leaving enough yarn from ball 1 to fade in the sleeves into ball 2 was that I need to come back and pick up to knit the collar. Well, this would be color ball number 1. So if I want it to be a nice transition, not have a distinctly different colored or toned neckband, I need color 1, or the first ball. I did do some math, and I estimate that I need at least 6 grams of yarn to make the collar, so the little ribbed collar, which is exactly what I have left. So whether or not that math is correct based on my stitch gauge and the number of stitches I have to work around, we'll see. I can always make it a shorter depth collar, or maybe tip the very top with the darker yarn so it has a little rim. I don't know, we'll see. But it's coming along. I don't really feel like working on it right this second because even though it's fingering weight yarn and it's very squishy in this half fisherman's rib waffle style texture, it is hot and humid today. So that's all I'm gonna say about it, because it's even a little too warm to be holding in my little mitts. But I'm really enjoying it. This has been my main focus. I am also working on a shawl, the one from Libby Johnson from the Wardrobe Toolbox, that I can't show you because it's only available to members of Wardrobe Toolbox at the moment. So I can't share that with you, but it is a shawl and I'm really enjoying it, and that is taking some of my time from my current works in progress. Right, my second work in progress, I only have 3. Don't worry, this shouldn't be too long. Is something I'm coming back to. So it's been sitting in the corner patiently waiting. In fact, so patient that I still haven't put it back on the cable, but now I have a cable to put it on. This is the Ruthie shawl. It's a pattern from Twin Set and Purl. It's specifically from Joanna Harriet. So I'm not sure if how the colors are coming out, but these are both yarns from the Lamb and Kid, located in offshore of on an island off the coast of where Seattle, Washington is located. You've probably heard of them, but if not, that's the shop. This is a merino cashmere nylon blend, I believe. This color, I think it's called Antique antique something. So it is this, again, a sort of beigey, oatmeal-y color. It's quite more warm tone than I thought it would be, but I love it. And so here's my pop of color I wanted, because I wear like black as my uniform, but I'm hot all the time. So it looks best for everybody else if I'm in black, so that you don't see me melting in front of you. But I do like color, but I tend to put it in accessories. So this is a, oh my gosh, I need to write this down. I'm pretty sure it feels like this is a Surrey alpaca lace weight in this bright pink color. I will link this below, and maybe on the screen I've put some information as well. Not sure what future editing me will be doing. But this shawl I really enjoy, but it does take concentration for me. It doesn't come intuitively to me, even at this point. Some of it had, but now I've been away from it for a while that I'm sure I've forgotten. But you work this nice I-cord edge on the end of the right side rows, where you slip those and then knit them on the reverse. And every so often you're bringing in that contrast color, but that contrast color continually works up the side. This is a little, I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if my camera will focus on that. But it's a little lace edging here, so it would come out with a little picot point every so often, but I'm not bothered. I love it. Of course, it's super soft and light, and it has this little flower motif in the middle. So this is going to get put back on the needles, and I'm going to finish this. So it doesn't get very wide. There are two shawls. One's the Ruth, and the other is the Ruthie. And they were made named after Ruth from Ruth Loves to Knit podcast. As a charity, the proceeds go to a charity. You can check out Ruth's channel to find out more about that, or go to the Ravelry site to look at information about the pattern. So that is something I'm looking forward to coming back to. Let's see. Oh, I actually do have the ball bands here. Look at that. So this is the Lemon Kid. Again. And here is the information. Let me just make sure it is focusing. And I'm holding, and my secondary color is, this is called their Birdie. Sorry, that's Diamond Lane. The base is called Birdie. I don't think it's focusing. Come on, camera. All right, so it is alpaca silk. So that's that work in progress, and I'm going to resume. So I know, several shawls. Shawls to me are sort of not works in progress. They're almost akin to socks for sock knitters, because I'm always knitting shawls. I love knitting shawls. Right. My newest cast on is my work in progress, and I did cast on the, oh, my lighting's going. I did cast on the Farrig, how did it go? I looked today. Yes, Farrig cardigan, which is from the Shetland Wool Week Annual 2021 book. I'm knitting the DK version, so the pattern comes in both a fingering or 4-ply version and a DK version. And so I'm knitting it in the DK version in the Morehouse Farm yarn that I showed you that I purchased from Rhinebeck. It has gone really dark out here, so I'm not sure if you can see me okay, even though I'm outside. Okay, hopefully I can brighten this up later. So it alternates cables, which I know are gonna be hard to see. Maybe you can see through it a bit. I've just started the cables. It's just a right lane cable, and then this fern lace pattern. I was thinking my eyelets look huge. I was trying to figure out a way to make them a little bit smaller. And it's not that I'm going from knits to purls or anything like that, where you get the uneven tension, but I think it's just because the thickness of the yarn, and I'm used to working with fingering weight yarn. But that means more ventilation, right? So if you're hot and you need more ventilation and it's a DK thickness, I think that's great. I love working with this yarn. It is an unprocessed merino. It is glorious, and I think there's got to be a lot of lanolin in here because my hands feel great after knitting with it. So a little bit of progress. So it is knit from the bottom up. I'm making size 2, and I hope I have enough. I did go up a needle size because my swatch was a bit tight, And I do tend to be tighter than my gauge swatches, I find. For whatever reason, I think I go faster and then that tightens it up. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I have noticed that trend. So I think this will be fine. It's meant to be cropped, just hopefully it's not too cropped. So that is a project, nice and fast, but it is black. So if I work on it, it's been at night mostly, unless I have some time in the morning. And then I have to turn on a bright light. So it's not really a comfort knit when I have bright lights on at night, but. So those are my current active works in progress, and a new cast on that is now a work in progress. So what are you working on? Drop in the comments below, or in the comments where they appear on your device. Let me know what you're working on, whatever it is, whatever craft it is. What are you working on? I love to hear about what other people are making, and not to sidetrack myself to start casting or making new things, but I think it's fun. It's fun to see what everybody else is making and what. Right, for spinning content. So you saw all that material in the beginning. That wasn't the spinning of the yarn. I did the spinning, I think previously I may have shown you some of that. A little bit of spinning on my e-spinner. So on Wednesday, I applied that red yarn. So this is the yarn that I talked about in the previous episode where I had the oops with the brain and the memory travel brain and didn't finish spinning all of the braid. So I did split the remaining parts of that braid into 3 sections, somewhat equally, and then spun each one onto their own bobbins. And so I had those bobbins, I showed you those at the beginning. And then I applied them together on my electric e-wheel 6, and that's what you saw in the footage. This was my first time doing a 3-ply in this manner. I have done chain ply before, but I had never actually done a 3-ply. And wow, do I love it. And there's going to be more 3-plying in this manner in my future. It's really interesting to see how those individual single plies come together and change their overall look, plying them as separate plies together compared to doing a chain ply. So I showed you the pictures of that. I'm going to hold up. I have actually skeined it up. Well, it's actually not skeined up, is it? Is it still a hank? It's still a loop twisted together. It's not actually no, it's not a skein. You can't knit with it like this. I remember now. Anyway, that's my digression. So there it is. So with 3-ply, you get this barber pole effect, where because I spun them in the same color sequence, but from end to end from the braid, you don't get exactly the same length on every single one. And so where those colors come together and play can change. So of course I've got areas with lots of the light pinks and areas with really dark reds in it. So this comes up as a kind of typical for me at the moment. I would call this one a sport to a light DK weight. There are some little sections that are a bit puffier, but I think overall it's pretty consistently sport to DK weight. What I'll do with it, I don't know. I did estimate the yardage from my Knitty Knotty, but I know when I'm wrapping it around the Knitty Knotty, you're also putting some tension on it. So I put that as like a maximum amount, but it's probably less, which is probably around, I measured it out to be 177 yards, but it's probably less than that. But at least it gives me an idea of how much is there. Again, some point I will get some sort of thing that actually measures yardage, so I got a better idea. But it may never have a plan. It may just sit there as this is the finished object. It doesn't have to go into any project. It can just be there. So I'm really like that. It's very plump and squishy, 100% merino, 3-ply. And I got a really nice twist angle. Now, I will say, if you're a new spinner, do not follow the things that I've done or shown or what I say about how to spin, or it's just how I spun. I only started spinning last January, so I'm definitely new. And if you are an experienced spinner, I hope you're not cringing over things that you saw in the video that you think, oh, If you have some constructive feedback for me though, as an experienced spinner, I would love to hear it. I'm always open to suggestions, tips, things like that. So drop that in the comment box also. I am, you know, I've learned from YouTube and books and things, so, and just by playing with the fiber. So if you have any suggestions or feedback, constructive feedback, please let me know in the comments area. So what did I do with the leftovers? So when you're spinning off the bobbins, you're invariably, in my experience, and I think it must be true for most people, those bobbins won't have the same length of fiber on them when you spun them. And that was true for me. I ran out of one bobbin first, and then there were two left that had varying amounts of single plies left on them. So I decided to chain ply one of those bobbins and then added in the next bobbin when I ran out of the first, the other remaining bobbin. And I did show some footage of that very briefly because I was having some technical issues. I haven't done it very often. I've only done it a couple times, and it was taking me a bit to get the hang of it and realize that, wow, I really have to have the wheel going much slower, like almost a third or quarter the speed than when I'm doing the 3-ply, or I was getting way too much twist in that yarn. And then the piano tuner showed up an hour early. So that's how it went. But this is the finished chain ply. So you can see that it's very different, right? You get more of an even concentration of the colors. You don't get that barber pull effect. Because of the interruptions, I forgot to take that bit of fiber that had spun before as a single and put it in with the chain ply. So I'm going to have to do that on its own, so I'll have yet another little mini skein. So this one I weighed out, measures 14 grams, and I have approximately 28 yards at the max for this. But a nice little 3-ply yarn that can go into something, right? Something somewhere. I don't know, but I had a lot of fun, and I've already started my next spin because I absolutely love that 3-ply with a barber pull effect. So I do have another one. It's on the wheel. So I'll talk a little bit about that prep and then we'll move on. So the rest of it is housed right now in this tin from, I'll cover up the name, you might see it, but some biscuits that came in this plastic tote. I thought, hey, this works really well for storing my leftover fiber. So what I did is I took, I was trying to decide which one I wanted to do next, and I thought I would pick up the fiber that I had purchased for the Tour de Fleece event, working with the Flannel and Starlight team for Tour de Fleece. And so it was this fiber from Hello Yarn. So I have two of these. One of them is a Corriedale, 100% Corriedale, and this one, as you can see, is Targhee Bamboo Viscose and Tussa Silk comb top. I've split them into thirds relatively evenly. They're not exactly the same weight, but close. I've put a loose knot on the end of each section that tells me to start spinning from there. So I'm going to spin end to end on each one and then ply it the same way I did with the other one, which is 3. Completely changed on my camera. Okay. So the other one, this one's in here with its little card of information of when to use it. This is my second one that I wanted to do. It doesn't really matter, but this is another one to do and how many grams it is. And then this one as well. But I can show you this fiber. I have never spun with any of these fibers. So nothing, I have never used Targhee. I have never worked with silk, although it's Tussa Silk, not the other kind, I forget the name of it at the moment. You're probably telling me on the screen. And with nylon. So yeah, it's this beautiful braid. So I just chain it on itself. So this is the end I will start with. And then I've just chained it on itself to keep it together until I use it loosely chained. And so that is what's on my wheel right now. If you're a spinner and you're spinning something, let me know what your current project is. And do you tend to spin just for spinning's sake, just because of the fiber? Do you spin for specific projects only? So I'm thinking, just like with some knitters, will only buy yarn for a project and that's it. And then there are others that buying yarn is a hobby in its own. So I'm just wondering where you sit, or do you kind of do a little of each? That's kind of what I do. I just kind of meander. Normally it's because I have an idea in mind, but because I'm spinning, I'm not really sure what the final end will look like. And the one time I did attempt to spin for a project, I spun the yarn. It was a different yarn I wasn't used to, and it turned out fine. There's nothing wrong with it except that it's too prickly for me. And I spun it to be knit into a shawl. So I'll probably turn them into mittens for somebody at some point. So I'm just going to stick with spinning for the sake of spinning, making a yarn in a weight I know I would use most likely, or I can gift it to someone. But yeah, just because I enjoy it. It is so enjoyable. I need to do it more often. My last part about fiber, I may have said that was my last part. It wasn't true. There's always more. There's always more. Is this. This is from me to myself at Christmas. And this is my self-curated fiber countdown calendar for December. So this actually comes into my segue for future plans. So let's put a timestamp there. Future plans, spinning. I decided not to purchase, well, at the end of last year sometime, I had this funny notion not to purchase any of the yarn advent calendars, countdown calendars this year, that we had traveled. I had spent a lot of money on things anyway, but if Fire Festival is right, not going to do it. Just don't budget for it because it's quite expensive. You know, it's quite costly with reason, but I didn't feel justified to do it. So I've seen some others do a fiber advent, and I thought that was a great idea. So I have taken some of the fiber that I purchased specifically for this while we were in Victoria, Australia, when I was at Tarndie. And then I've also had some others that I purchased online from Etsy. All of those in natural colors, because I had an idea that I wanted to be able to spin it up and use it for a shawl or wrap that is specifically designed to use up your advent skeins. So I wanted to do it though in a gradation of natural wool colors. So that's what I'm going to do. But I did also drop in some of those nice little colorful bumps of odds and ends that I got from Into the World at Rhinebeck, just to add a little splash of color and fun things to do. Thing is, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those, and my plan was to just randomly grab one from the bag each day, see what color I get, and spin it up. I think that works for the the natural shades, but those colorful ones, because they're a mix of fibers, I'm not really sure if I should spin them up into individual micro, like minis, because they're about between they're less than 10 grams each. They're somewhere between 5 and 10 grams. Do I do that? Do I just spin them end to end and make this endless like long thing and just let it be this kind of art yarn? I'm not really sure. Let me know if you have any ideas on what to do with the ones that are colorful. And they're in similar color families. I did show a picture before, and maybe well, you'll see them as I go along as well. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on that, if you've ever worked with little odds and ends, and what do you do with them? So that's part of my future plan. My other future plan will be for Thanksgiving, which is coming up here in the United States in a couple of weeks already. I don't know how that happens, but I'm going to have a Christmas, well, it would be Christmas Day cast on, but it'll probably be Christmas Eve, Christmas. This has been my week, my brain. Anyway, Thanksgiving evening cast on, because I'll be doing the cooking. Even though it's just 4 of us, that's still a lot of cooking. I love to cook and I make a lot of food for just 4 people, but you know, you're meant to eat it for the next 4 days until you don't want to look at that food ever again, right? So probably I will do it that evening, so Thursday evening on Thanksgiving, and I'm going to cast on the Wilfrida, assuming that my silk mohair arrives in time to cast it on. So that's what I'll do. So I need to get and move on with some of these other items so that I feel really excited and ready to go to cast that on. My last part of future plans is I'm thinking of doing Vlogmas. Yes, that means you can hear more from me. Now, if you don't know what Vlogmas is, Vlogmas is where people will post either daily videos, just a vlog, right? A video log of what's happened that day, short ones throughout the month of December. So just kind of their life in December, because a lot of people take time off from recording their videos, I think, especially when it's not part of their business, but they take time off for the holidays, for the break, or whatever you celebrate in December, and whether it's winter or summer for you. So I thought about doing that, recording every day, but not necessarily posting every day, because our semester at the college will be coming to an end that first week-ish of December, which means I'll have posted all my final grades, and all I will be doing is working on preparing my classes for the spring term in January and picking up my high schoolers every afternoon from school until they're out. So I will have that time to be able to show you maybe some more nature footage, show you those daily spins. I can record this Advent, and I actually do have a mini yarn skein Advent that somehow ended up being purchased. So I know I said I wasn't going to, but it happened. I'm not sure how or when. This is a judgment-free zone, right? This is judgment-free. It is mini. It's a mini Advent from a shop that I wanted to try out their yarns. I'm not going to justify it. It happened, and so this is what's happening. So I'm going to open up at least my fiber things daily. Whether or not I spin them daily, not sure. But some of them there will be spinning, so we can see how those work out. Some baking, cooking, whatever, right? Whatever happens throughout that week that I think is worth actually putting together and showing you. And over the week of Christmas, we will be staying at a cabin in the northern part of Georgia, near the border with North Carolina, western North Carolina, so up near the mountains there. So I'll have that as well to show you what that area is like. So I'm thinking of doing that in December. So I will let you know what happens with those plans. If you're interested at all, it'll be there. And if you're not interested, it'll still be there. Right? You can do whatever you like. I think I have probably covered enough. I was going to talk about some other things today, but no, this is good for you. I think you need to get on with your lives today, right? So anyway, I realize I've got this palm tree, sticking out of my head. That's okay. I hope, again, the sound has been all right for you here. I hope you have a great weekend, the rest of your week. Let me know what you're up to, how you've been, what you're working on, and I look forward to chatting with you next time. Bye-bye.